Well, I lost my love and I lost my loot in Las Vegas, Nevada. My gal ran out when all of my dough was gone. Now he held kings and I held queens in Las Vegas, Nevada. My queen, she went with the kings and...
Hey, where the hell do you think you're going?
But I'll stay for a while, replenish my pile in Las Vegas, Nevada. I win back my dough and the sweet, sweet baby of mine.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. This is Alex. You already know what's going on, so let's dive right in. So our real-life Eddie journey started out with a 3D printer and lots of searching. I initially settled for a general iBot. Being new to 3D printing, I didn't want to go too hard too soon, and considering your average iBot is literally just Sputnik with a grill on it, I figured it'd be a good place to start. Except, I ain't no fig, you dig? So after a few days of figuring out 3D printing, I moved on to relatively bigger, but definitely better things. Eddie, my love, let's get started. Didn't I already start? Oh. And here's the new ring-a-ding-ding, baby. The game has been rigged from the start, because truth is, as much as I like to have a real-life sized Eddie, scaling-wise, this guy's gonna be a little bit tiny. He's gonna be a lot closer to the models you find in-game, not like the in-game game models, but like the in-game miniature models of a... You get it. So I digress. Despite the importance of scale to this project, I am just eyeballing it, though I did try to get him as close to 1/6 scale as possible, but it's less about the numbers here and a lot more about the delicious eye candy. And from where I'm standing, it's looking like a fine 1/6 scale piece, you dig? Now, the reason why Eddie's a lot more difficult than the initial iBot has to do with the model itself. Not only is the model of Eddie a lot more polygons, but his 3D file includes an antenna, which considering the scale would make it impossible to print. For me at least. But there's nothing a little ingenuity and about 30 minutes of Blender tutorials on YouTube couldn't fix. Thankfully, it was just a matter of erasing the antenna, exporting the file, and printing it out. And with this baby fully printed, it's time to get a little touchy as we slowly free Eddie from his plastic prison. Now, here's some deep 3D printer knowledge. The surplus plastic being removed is a support, and depending on your settings, printer, and object, this process can either be quick and painless, or quite the opposite. And yeah, I did choose the latter. After a good 20 minutes of deshelling, Eddie was finally out and ready for our next step, that being smoothness. Getting him smooth, real smooth. Now, in order to get him up there, we're going to be applying two techniques, first of which entails wood filler. I used this once before, and it worked great for filling in deep imperfections and print patterns left by the 3D printer. Now this stuff goes on pink and dries a crispy french fry yellow, perfect for letting us know when it's ready to be sanded. Unfortunately, Eddie does have a huge need for the pink, which means a lot of sanding in our near future. Now here's some insight into the project. This is why I potentially messed up, not because of something I did, but because of something I didn't. The ideal situation would have me applying the wood filler, letting it dry, sanding, and repeating until baby smooth. But like you probably know, I'm a lazy dog, so I gave in to my vices after 2 cycles, which is far from what my Eddie deserves. Hindsight is always 20/20, so moving on, the second technique applied is quite similar to the first, which has us using a car primer / filler to cover up the finer creases that the wood filler wasn't able to get to, sanding it down, reapplying some pink, and repeating. Now, here's a PSA. Clean your expensive filler because, hey, they clog. So, after picking up some primer and paint, we're ready for round 2. Another PSA, double check you're using the right spray can, cause yeah, don't be stupid like me. Thankfully, the filler is heavy enough to cover that up. And again, I fall into the lazy dog trope, meaning 2 rounds was all I could take before taking the fall and moving on to our initial coat of paint. Now, because Eddie is a robot, I'm using a dark metallic spray. Okay, maybe I'm the robot. But after applying our metallic spray paint, I went ahead and got some masking tape and covered up Eddie's body, leaving only his visor open for some yellow paint. Now, while watching this, you might be wondering to yourself, wow, Alex, how'd you manage not to get any yellow on Eddie? Well, I didn't manage. I actually got a bunch of yellow on Eddie. So yeah, be smart. Go ahead and cover him up all the way. Don't be lazy. Thankfully, it was nothing a little silver paint couldn't fix, and on top of that, we were able to finish off our visor with some black paint. Wow, fancy, huh? Now, it being a post-nuclear apocalypse and all, Shiny clean metal finishes are a thing of the past, so taking advantage of the dirty black brush, we're gonna go ahead and give him a nice base coat, which we're gonna follow up by applying these Tamiya weathering powders. Now, I use these every once in a blue moon, but despite that, they're one of my favorite weathering materials. After dabbing to my heart's content, Eddie's first layer of rust was officially done. Yeah, there's another layer to come. Now, I don't know how lucky one guy can be, but I got pretty darn lucky at my local art supply warehouse, where I found the perfect size metal cylinders for Eddie's antenna. Now, believe it or not, I actually went above and beyond with the antenna, buying 2 different size pieces to really nail the accuracy. So, after quick measuring, I chopped those babies up.
Scared me.
After measuring and cutting the pieces, it's a matter of figuring out how to attach them. And here's the thing, having to figure out 3D printing means you learn a lot about the material, both what it can take and what it can't. Like temperatures above 200, that it cannot take. So with that knowledge in mind, I decided to heat up each cylinder and shove it right in. It's no top-notch method by any means, but it gets the job done. And that's all I could ask for, really. The only real problem with this method was that the lighter wasn't really putting in the work, so I had to move on to my stove. Yeah. Thankfully, the stove would heat up the metal in a matter of seconds, so there wasn't much waiting for me to do. Though I did have to make sure not to push the antenna too far in, or risk having them either disproportional or way too loose. Which is never fun. And with all our antennae in place, it's time we tackle our next hurdle, which is the base. Yeah, we can't have Eddie laying around like the hot piece of garbage he is. So I took a trip to my local Hobby Lobby and I picked up these wood bases that are about 2.5 inches in diameter, along with some sturdier metal to hold our baby up. Now, here's the thing though. We ain't just gonna stop at the base, well, I guess we are, but we're not just gonna stop on a nasty, shitty base.
Oh shit. You fucking blew up.
En contraire, no, we're actually gonna make it look a lot nicer by staining it. Now we're gonna fly through this process since it's pretty straightforward, and first off we're gonna condition the wood, which is gonna keep the stain from getting blotchy and make it even. Now this wouldn't be an ARF video if something didn't go somewhat wrong, so I did kind of forget to drill the hole, which should have been done pre-staining and pre-conditioning, but as far as I'm concerned, no harm, no foul.
You lucky fuck.
After measuring and drilling the hole, I figured I'd take advantage of the situation and do the same to Eddie. Unfortunately, I was really scared that it would ruin the paint job. Fortunately, it didn't. And the small amount that was scraped off, I just repainted with some metallic paint. Again, no harm, no foul times 2, huh? I'm inside. From there, we can move back to our wooden base, which, now that it's fully conditioned, is ready to be stained. And this was just a matter of putting the stain, letting it sit for a good 15 minutes, and then wiping it off. While we let that dry, or a stain, there's one thing I wanted to try that I saw online, weathering using actual rust. Now, it didn't really work out for me, probably because I already sealed my Eddie, meaning most of the rust would just wipe off, though I did manage to figure something out, which we'll see later. But back to our staining, which after wiping, it's pretty much done. Yeah, that's it. Next up is figuring out how high I want my Eddie to stand. So after inserting the pole, it's a matter of measuring, or in my case, eyeballing it. I settled on a specific height and hit my next hurdle, which was getting the rod cut. Yeah, it was so damn thick, I couldn't get her cut. So after much trial and error, I settled for a $100 Dremel. My previous Dremel had broken down, so this was my only option. It's honestly worth the price, aside from this godforsaken protector, which doesn't do anything. It missed the mark by a hair, which honestly makes it sadder. It's still a good time though. With our piece cut and somewhat burnt, next thing to do is clean it up using some metal polish, and wow, that looks nice actually. Now at this point we're pretty much ready to set up, but I decided to cut out an extra piece measured at a different length, mainly because while the original measurement is perfect for 1/6 scale, it looks a little off just by itself, so that way I could have the option of displaying either with 1/6 scale figures or on my desk. And at this point, we're pretty much done, but I decided to go back and give Eddie an extra weathering, just because he had been sitting on my desk for quite a while, so not only had he getting dusty, but some of the paint had started to come off. So after applying our black wash, I move on to the technique I mentioned earlier. Using a shitty old brush and some terracotta spray enamel, which no, it's not named after the statues, but the color, I went ahead and applied it all over Eddie's body. That's hot. Making sure to give him that 200 years of rust that he well deserved. Is it 200 years? Man, when does Fallout New Vegas take place? No, I guess it just comes down to when Eddie was made. Anyways, at this point, we're absolutely done, and I'm ecstatic to finally finish the voiceover. That being said, the only thing left to do is admire our pretty boy. So let's go ahead and do that. Here's our boy next to Threezero, 1/6 scale XO1 power armor. That's a mouthful. And here he is next to my custom 1/6 scale Fallout character. I hope you guys had a good time watching this. I had a good time making this. I do love me some Fallout, for the most part. That being said, you can probably guess why I wanted to make this extra special. Yes, Eddie, I was getting to that. He says don't forget to leave a comment, a like, and subscribe. I really can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. That's a ring-a-ding-ding, and I'll catch you on the next one. Oh no, stupid fuck.